Rack and roll shadows of Centris. Waking up to your face being buried in downy feather pillows covered in silk is amazing, especially when those pillows are the gigantic breasts of a woman utterly smitten with you. It's a tough life, but Amadi knows how to handle it. For he is... The buzzing of his communicator cuts off his inner monologue, and he turns over to reach for the device. It's actually buzzing in Morse code. Dot dash dot pause dot dash dash dot R and P for Reginald Pike. Oh, don't get up. It's too early in the day. Abigail mutters even as he grabs the communicator. It's Reginald. He doesn't call unless it's something serious. He says, sitting up fully, and she rises next to him with a sigh. Reggie, what's happening? Reggie tries and fails to form words. Are you hurt? Are you being held captive? Do you need rescue? Amadi demands, gathering his limbs under him as he gets ready to spring from the bed and start a mad dash for his pants, his holster, and the air bike he's got on the landing pad. I need to know something, Reggie asks, sounding like he's staring down the barrel of a gun. Tell me, what's going on? Amadi demands. What? What are the chances of a woman getting pregnant after one night of sex? Reggie asks, and Amadi goes still as his mind resets. Considering that we're still somewhat in a first contact scenario, we don't know. But unless protection was used, the odds are always at least not zero, he says with a roll of his eyes as he starts scooching back down. What do I do? Reggie hisses into the phone. Baseball bat? Amadi jokes, and there's a choking sound on the other end. Fine then, a coat hanger. Will you take this seriously? Reggie, relax. I understand. Or at least I think I do. You've spent your whole life thinking that you'd never have sex. You were flat out disgusted by the idea, then cancer took care of that before it returned, and now you're young, healthy, and more virile than you ever were. You're going to have to come with grips over potential fatherhood. Besides, do you think there's even the slightest chance in hell that the mother won't adore the idea of having the exotic alien man's child? Amadi asks, and there's a pause. What's going on? Abigail asks, and he holds up a finger. Amadi, just tell me, and tell me honestly, that my feelings that I failed myself on a moral level are wrong. Please? Outside of people with doctorates, you're the smartest guy I know. Reggie begs, and Amadi sighs with a shake of his head. Reggie, she was willing. You were willing. So far, that's you in the clear. You weren't saving yourself for anyone. You weren't promised to anyone. You were and are free to do as you want. If you want to keep doing that, woman, until you have a child for every member of your family that you've lost twice over, then have it you. If this was a one-time thing, then it was a one-time thing. You get me? Yeah, I guess I do. Thanks, Reggie says, sounding relieved even as Abigail starts glaring. Next time, try calling when I'm not cuddling my own girl, all right? Oh, sorry. I'd say no problem, but from the looks of it, Abigail is plotting someone's murder. Better make sure it's not mine, Amadi says ruefully as she crosses her arms and doubles the glare. Sorry. Bye, he says, hanging up the communicator and putting it to the side. Only something serious? She asks testily. The man is struggling with massive changes. Most of his life, the idea of getting stabbed was more appealing than sex. Then he finds out that a hereditary disease is soon to end his life, so he takes a shot at a regenerating coma. He wakes up with urges and desires that he learned all his life to consider disgusting. He wakes up with desires and needs that make him feel dirty. And he just caved into those needs. She realizes. Yeah, the way the galaxy is, most everyone, him included, saw it as inevitable. But knowing that something's coming doesn't mean that it's suddenly all right, Amadi remarks, and she uncrosses her arms, prompting him to scooch a little closer to her for some cuddles. He needed to unload on someone, and there's only a couple people he's close enough to unload on and feel safe. Well, we're already partially up, so... Abigail begins, and Amadi grabs her around the waist and pulls her into him like a down-covered pillow. No, we're up too early, he says, and she titters in amusement as she cuddles up into him before they drift off to sleep again. Several hours later, the door is slammed open and both Amadi and Abigail wake up with a start. Amadi grabbing a gun he had hidden but not quite revealing it before he gets a good idea on what the hell's going on. Abigail, I need... Oh, wait, you can help me too. Jacqueline? What the heck? What's so important? Abigail asks, as Amadi slowly points the gun away from under the sheets and slides it under the pillow again. Shooting the Speaker of the Council is likely something that would prompt Admiral Cistern to strangle him for being an idiot. I need to know how to snag one of those, Jacqueline KKent, Speaker of the Council, declares, pointing directly at Amadi. Basic flirting? My man here was eager to jump into my arms, Abigail notes. I suppose it's time to get up. A startling like that got all the juices running, and there's no way I'm falling asleep again. Amadi notes as he bites back comments about nets and dart guns. Don't want to give her bad ideas after all. He slips out of the bed and uses a twist of axiom to bring out but keep his gun hidden. A quick go-around for his clothes, and he's dressed but smelling of bird. There's just something about the way they move, isn't there? Abigail asks. What was with some of those movements, though? It was strange, Jacqueline notes. He's hiding something. It's cute. I don't know what it is, but he won't let me see it and grabs for it when he's nervous, Abigail says, and Amadi snorts. It's not much of a secret. I just don't show it because it could be legally considered an act of coercion to wave it around. But it's military procedure to have at minimum your sidearm in reach at all times. Amadi notes calmly as he cinches his belt up. You have a weapon? Abigail asks. At all times. You never know what might happen. Centris has proven to be all kinds of fun in both terrible and wonderful ways. I've been attacked by the Umbral organization. At least one cult of anti-human lunatics have shown themselves, and we've caught an entire army's worth of spies and possible assassins trying to get onto the Dauntless. Amadi explains before reaching into his shoulder holster and drawing the now visible pistol. It's just a basic sidearm, nothing to get excited over, he says before tucking it back in. I see. Tell me then, Mr. I am Amadi Nenga Adegoke. Mr. Adegoke, I need to know what your admiral likes. Competence, loyalty, duty, grit, innovation, wisdom, practicality. What does he like in his woman? Lady KKKent snaps at him. You'd best ask him that. I try not to consider my commanding officer's romantic life, Amadi says, and there's a sound of frustrated disgust from the official. But if it helps any, he was recently divorced. His wife left him, took as much of his wealth and resources as she could, took the children and left him with nothing but his career to stand on. So he's very career-oriented. Wait, what did he do or say to... Why would any woman just... Abigail asks, and Amadi shrugs. It's not my business. But the courts and legal systems back home heavily favor women. Most can divorce their husbands for no reason at all and take most of what they own while demanding further monthly payments if they take the children as well. It's a very abuse-prone system, he says with a shrug. But how does that help me seduce him? Jacqueline demands. Why are you so fixated on him? Amadi volleys back. He's the best of your kind. Highest rank, most accomplished, most skilled, therefore the best. A bit of a regenerating coma and he'll be young and hearty again. He'll make the perfect husband for a lady as highly regarded as I. She preens, and Amadi makes no attempt to hide the distaste on his face. What's wrong? Abigail asks him, and he sighs. Just that with an attitude like that, your cousin's only going to insult the Admiral and not seduce him, Amadi notes casually. What? Lady KyleKKent asks in a stunned tone. Look, lady, he's been screwed over once already. There's a term back home, once burned, twice shy. You act like he owes you something, and all he'll see is the worst of his ex-wife, Amadi remarks before glancing to Abigail. So, are you just going to stay in bed all day, or do you want to do something? I did promise you a full night and the following day. Oh my, yes! I know a wonderful set of gardens that are just to die for. They're woven into the architecture of Darrenhold's spire. The entire spire is a work of art. Abigail chirps as she bounces out of bed to reveal the fact that she's only got her silk bra on. What? Don't ask us to kiss and tell, it's rude, Amadi remarks as he slips past Lady KyleKKent. I'll get some food ready. Any preferences? Anything without your evil human spices, Abigail answers back. That doesn't narrow things down, Amadi protests. I know, Abigail giggles as she quickly pulls out a change of clothing. Take your time. I'm going to have a quick preening to get all my feathers straight. So the trip's tomorrow, then? Amadi teases. I'm not that bad. Jackie here is, though. Abigail deflects, and Lady KyleKKent puts a dramatic hand to her chest as if wounded. My own kin! Turned against me and... Yes, that's fair. I do try to look my best, unlike some slobs, she shoots back at Abigail. You two do realize you're having this argument, when I haven't even fully considered anything more than some deodorant and a quick face wash for myself, right? Amadi adds. You're the one with naturally occurring cologne. You don't need to wash that much. Abigail counters before walking into the attached bedroom to begin her preening. Oh, yes, I do, and it may be cologne to you, but damn if it doesn't reek to me. She's already preening. She can't hear you, Jacqueline calls to him. Oh, Well, maybe you can offer a suggestion beyond keep the things you can't eat out of it? Amadi asks, and she makes her way into the kitchen as he's scanning the interior of the fridge. Well, I don't understand you humans, she says after a few moments. Humans don't understand humans. There are entire scientific fields based around asking the singular question of what the hell is wrong with humanity. Amadi dismisses before pulling out a container with small sausages. Are these a breakfast meat? It's lunchtime, Jacqueline remarks. That wasn't a yes or a no. Yes. Good. Better cooked or raw? Cook them all the way through, you crazy monkey monster, she says, and he nods before putting it on the counter. What more? It's a small container, not to mention there are a few varieties here that might go well together. Amadi remarks silently, thanking Koa for getting him into cooking for himself. It was a great way to get closer to his rabbi's girls, as the diner was not only family-owned, but having him help out in the back had been a panty-dropper of a move. Not that he needed to do more than uncinch his belt to make them excited. The pirates. Under Axiom wings, pillars soar into the air before embedding themselves into the square concrete pools. The liquid concrete flows at first like water before settling and hardening in moments. This feat repeats itself time after time as a small army of carpenters race behind Franklin as he sets up the bare supports and foundations of thousands and thousands of buildings. These shelters are temporary but strong, designed to be repurposed later for low-income housing and storage. Following the freshly trained carpenters are equally newly trained plumbers and electricians. Landscapers and gardener as green as the fruits of their labor follow them. Identical these houses may be, but each will be sturdy, well-made, and surrounded by beauty. Just because something isn't made to last does not mean you should not put in your best effort. It takes Franklin 3 hours of unending axiom manipulation to lay the bases of all the buildings before he heads back among the carpenters to grab some tools. Once he has a proper understanding on how everything is put together, the nails and screws, wood and plaster, brick, metal, and mortar all soar at his direction, and the construction flies fast. He then joins the plumbers and repeats his learning before building en masse. He repeats the performance with the electrical wiring and then with the greenery and turf. A city is born in a single day. Labor's finished, he sits upon the roof of the outermost building, watching as the people slowly move into the city on his right. His head pounds from the sheer strain of the detail and leashed power he had controlled. It had not been an easy feat to accomplish all of this, but it had been good. He had tested himself, tested the axiom, and tested his skill, endurance, and will. None were found wanting. His thoughts drift to the labors still needed on the world. This small, temporary city had a marketplace and roads to connect it to other places, so much still left to do, yet so little he could do himself. For all the tools Axiom gave him, it never seemed to be enough. He could make them new homes, he could give them a future. He couldn't wipe away the pains of the past. He shakes his head hard at that thought as if to try and literally shake it out. All it does is aggravate his headache somewhat. Water. I'm dehydrated. He floats off the roof and lands easily. The keys to this new place are already waiting inside. He ignores them and goes for the sink. The water in the area has already been tested and he drinks deeply. We missed you at lunch, Mabby says from behind him, and he turns to regard her. I don't like leaving things half-finished. Sorry, he says, and she scoffs before sauntering up to him and wiping the water off his mouth with the back of her paw. The problem with you humans is that you're all so strong. It's the hottest thing I can imagine, but it leads you silly monkeys into doing the strangest things. She half purrs as she walks behind him and hugs him gently, letting her arms hang loose over his front as if she were draped upon his back. You don't have to do things all alone. You can let others help. It's not that. I understand others can help and have a lot to offer. It's that no matter how much I do, no matter how well I do or how much gets done, I always figure I could have done better. I know it's incredibly stupid. I know I'm getting better as I go and it's coloring my view, he explains before thrusting his rear back and hefting Mabby onto his back to carry her out of the house. But I see this city and the first thought is that I should have tried harder. That is stupid. This is more, far more than anyone expected out of you. If you just stopped with the foundations and supports, then it would have been a miracle still. A city for 50,000 people built in a single day. If you're not honored as the patron saint of this settlement, I'll be surprised, Mabby remarks as she nuzzles into him. Oh, they've already started with that, don't you worry, Mirage says from nearby. Mabby glances around in confusion, and Franklin gives the invisible nudist an unimpressed look. What is with your aversion to pants and clothing in general, for that matter? Vutsa's plenty warm. Most space stations are at cozy temperatures, and yay, I just never picked up the habit. Although, I could be convinced, Mirage teases. I thought I already had, Franklin remarks as Mirage saunters up and leans against him. A slight twist of axiom and she fades into visibility. Without the cloaking, she's revealed to be a mottled, dark purple dinosaur woman with a pale cream section over her chest and stomach, as well as down the insides of her thighs. Her head is slimmer and more streamlined, like a serpent with lips. Accenting this are brightly colored feathers cresting backwards that she often braids little knickknacks into that give her a flaring hairstyle. A look of shock on her face caps it all off. Franklin! No! Stop! She squeals in protest as she's suddenly very visible in all her nudity. She leans away and fades out of sight. If you want to see me like that, anytime you're not wearing clothes. I'm not teasing you for fun alone. Clothing can do double duty as armor. I'm looking out for you. Not to mention you've been dodging a lot of random swipes and even a few plasma shots now and again. Startling a bunch of pirates out of nowhere is never wise, Mabby adds. That too, Franklin remarks. Frankie! A tanned, four-armed bunny girl with stark white hair and a goth outfit calls out. Franklin! A second four-armed bunny girl in a goth outfit calls out. Her skin is pale and her hair jet black to contrast her sister. Lovey! A woman in what seems to be a mantis-style Halloween costume complete with extra arms, wings, and feelers calls out as she flies above the other three. Hubby! A short green-skinned woman in overalls that have been tied at the waist to reveal a form-hugging black t-shirt follows them. The calls of the bride sound out as the rabbi's twins of Ichi Nietzsche, followed by the snicked Chiria, all rush up with one extra, the former Gobe slave, Hutha. One of Hu's older sisters, she's easily identified by her refusal to heal her first scar and instead hiding it with a wrap of bandages around her face. They cross over her nose and give her a very distinctive look in stark white with her dark gray hair and bright green skin. Girls, new girl, I don't think we've actually... Franklin lets it hang in the air for a moment, and the former slave looks taken aback before resolving herself. Because I decided today. I want in! I don't know which of you is first, and I don't care. I want in. He broke the witches. He helped my brother. He put up an entire city. I want in, Hutha announces with her arms crossed. Do you have any idea what you're getting into? Mabby asks, even as Nishi steps closer to Franklin, but gets a squeal of protest from Mirage as she bumps into the invisible streaker. There's the fact that we tend to hang around at random. We're pirates turned conquerors all the way down. Think you can handle that for sisters? I handled this, didn't I? Hutha demands before shifting the bandages to show the brutal scar running across her face. I spent years in that cruddy mine and came out to a world where there are super studs from beyond the stars that made everything better. I'm getting in while the getting's good. There's also the fact that among my own kind, I'm weird as hell, Franklin remarks. Hutha snorts in derision. Oh, what? You think you're going to scare me off? You're in great shape. You're a master axiom adept. You're exotic. You're tough. You're kind. You're wise, and you're generous. If that's what weird is, then I don't want to see normal for the rest of my damn life. I want in. I haven't been out in the galaxy long. Is this normally how it goes? Franklin asks Mabby, who shrugs. In some places, Mirage states in a very amused tone of voice. Like, say, a frontier world between pirates, military, and a freed slave? Franklin remarks. Putting it that way, we should be surprised we didn't wake up to find her in the bed and halfway done fucking herself pregnant on you. Actually, that might be kind of hot to see. Can we have that happen? Chiria asks, and Franklin scrunches his eyes together before letting out chuckle. That's apparently one vote in your favor, Franklin remarks. Tough? Ichi asks. Cute? Nishi adds. Yes, the twins say as one. I don't see why not, Mirage remarks, and Hutha blinks. So I didn't imagine it? You've got a cloak in here? She asks, and Franklin reaches out and throws his arm around Mirage's shoulder, forcing her back into visibility. There's an EP! Of surprise from the nudist, and she slips out of his grip. I'll let you be the judge of that, Franklin remarks with a grin. Could you stop doing that? Mirage asks him. If she's in, then she's going to see you naked sooner or later. Besides, if actually want me to stop, then say so. Right now, Franklin says, and there's a pause. Well, I'll put some clothes on, Mirage says before leaning into him. Later. she says, using him to keep her breasts covered and her tail to hide the rest. He really is in season, isn't he? Hutha remarks with a whistle. Nope, these humans don't have a season. It's always go time, Mirage says. He keeps flirting back and making games of it. I thought it was just a scent for a bit, but he does want it. I can feel how much he wants it now, but he's controlling it. Get a tret this horny and he's dragging you to bed. A human? He'll start teasing until you drag him to the bed. Really? Hutha asks with a very interested look on her face. I had thought it was just some kind of cologne he'd been dunking himself into. But if it's his actual pheromones and he actually wants it that much, if you still want in, you'll have my blessing. Just remember the big rules. The big rules? Hutha asks. Play nice. I'm not going to put up with any pointless drama. We're all adults and can handle ourselves like adults. That's my big rule, Franklin explains. Mine is that if you break something or use something up, you fix or replace it as appropriate. If you can't, then get help to do it. I've spent too much time fixing other people's messes on the claw to want that added to. Mabby remarks with a purr as she buries her face into Franklin's growing hair. Have fun, we live, then we die. This is supposed to be a thing of love and excitement. Live with it! Mirage remarks as she pulls up a foot and slips one of her hands beneath Franklin's pants. We're sisters now, Ichi says. So sharing is caring, Nishi adds. Which means your problems too, we're in this together, Chiria notes. Still want in? Franklin asks, and Hutha seems to consider before gesturing for Franklin to lower himself to her level. Mirage and Mabby step away as he crouches down to look her in the eyes. She then grabs him around the head and kisses him hard. He responds by wrapping his arms around her and lifting her off the ground as he stands up, not breaking the kiss in the slightest. I do, she answers, getting him to grin. Welcome to the party, Hutha. Smitha now. You're Franklin Smith, so now I'm Smitha, she says before kissing him again. Well, guess we've got another rule to learn. Oh, the horror, the shock, the unmitigated gall. Mirage jokes from nearby, and Smitha starts giggling into the kiss before breaking it off and cuddling him. I can't believe it was this easy. You're number 6. We're not exactly overcrowded. Yet, Mabby remarks. Just 6, but the other men of the ship are much, much easier to seduce. So most of the ship ended up with them. I'm the odd one out in a lot of ways. Mabby spent hours upon hours flirting with me, and it all went over my head. I had to be straight up told she wanted me to get it. It goes from annoying to charming once you get used to it, Mabby remarks,